Does Africa want to join the EU? I don't know. I mean, Africa already has their own EU, except it's called the African Union, the AU. And what's interesting about that organization is they have every single country in the continent, even though certain places were formally suspended for a little bit. Afro-European Union. What's interesting is I just now realized how similar these two flags really are. Well, those are the exact same European Union flag. But the African Union has also a similar layout going on with like stars in a circular format. But no, I cannot imagine this at all. That would be.
African nation applied to join the EU in 1987.
Morocco probably makes the most sense. If any African country is going to join the EU, that I think has got to be the number one. Even more so than some of these other North African nations like Algeria or Tunisia or Libya. It's just Morocco has some very close historical ties with Spain and Portugal and the Iberian Peninsula. Plus, don't forget the Moroccans literally have a land border with the European Union, with these Spanish cities. It's funny because they're like Morocco's Gibraltar's. British have Gibraltar, then Spain have their own version of Gibraltar just in Morocco. So Morocco attempted to join the EU in the 80s.
In 1987.
1987.
But its request was rejected just because it was not European enough.
Yes.
But why did Morocco...
But, I mean, that was back in the 80s. I can really see the EU eventually kind of changing the definition of what exactly is able to join the European Union. Maybe instead of being the European Union is, I don't know.
To join. So firstly, Morocco liked its former colonizers, and it viewed itself as European.
Yes, because you don't forget there was a moment there where the French actually had Morocco. Let's also not forget there's another very big nation outside of Europe that tried to join the European Union. That's Turkey. They waited for decades to get their application accepted. So
firstly, Morocco liked its former colonizers.
I don't know how much that's liked. Maybe it has an okay or better relationship than other nations that were colonized by European powers.
And it viewed itself as European enough as it was just 14 kilometers across
yes.
from Europe. Also, it wanted to be a bridge between Europe and Africa.
Which that's still kind of a discussion being had today, finally connecting those two continents by a bridge. Wait, Morocco joining the EU? That's consent colonialism. Not European enough. Morocco likes its colonizer, Morocco looking at Spain. That's what I was thinking. Maybe Morocco likes France. I don't think Morocco likes Spain all that much. And to be honest, I think Morocco really only likes France because France is a potential rival to Spain. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This is completely wrong. The reason is because the African Union recognized Western Sahara as an independent nation and Morocco did not like that. Still, they needed an economic faction, so they requested to join the EU, which was obviously declined. Morocco used to be considered Europe back in the 1400s. Oh, this is just, like Serbia wanted to join ASEAN. I mean, if this European country can't join this League of Southeast Asian nations, then I don't know. Honestly, Europe did this to themselves, though, allowing Australia into Eurovision. Also, Morocco was in Eurovision. That's where everything went wrong. Once they did that, then we had international geopolitical organizations. They had to accept countries that weren't even in the continent. That video was by InfoHub. Is Denmark a coward? Oh boy, we're going to talk about the 6 hours of World War II. I talk about it all the time. I might get in trouble.
Denmark is famous for surrendering in just 6 hours,
yes,
while a Soviet house lasted 60 days.
I mean, it's a little bit of a different situation. I'm sure we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in a 27-second long video.
A coward for surrendering. The answer is no. You see, even
I don't know what to say.
Stronger countries had fallen so easily and were now facing German atrocities against civilians. Little Denmark had just one tank, so not only was resisting pointless, but surrendering also prevented Germany from harming its civilians. Moreover, Denmark knew that Germany only wanted Danish land in order to quickly invade Norway and snatch its iron and location before allies.
Yes, I definitely wouldn't say Denmark was a coward. Sometimes you just gotta avoid the fight to save your people. If protecting your people instead of your pride is cowardice, then I'm glad Denmark chose cowardice. Norway be like, the Germans are gonna have to first defeat our strong brother Denmark to get to us. Meanwhile, Norway 6 hours later, it was just like, bruh. The Danes were seen as lesser Germans, while the Slavs were seen as vermin. This is important to consider. The countries of Eastern Europe were fighting to prevent their extinction. Denmark's casualties in World War II, 6,000. Poland's casualties in World War II, 6 million. And the Danes still got their revenge. They forced the Germans to clean up all those landmines on their beaches. As always, nice map, lad. Is Canada a war criminal? Yes, they very much are. It's actually a good thing that the world sees them as mostly peaceful, because when they do find themselves in a fight, they do horrible, horrific things. things. Canada's scariest secret you don't want to know. Let's talk about their World War I war crimes.
Canada was so brutal in the World Wars that the
Yes.
Geneva Convention was created specifically because of it. However,
Yes.
Canada did cause a lot of chaos. During Christmas in World War I,
specifically
soldiers
against the
stopped
Germans.
fighting and even exchanged gifts to celebrate the day. When Germans did the same with Canadians, the Canadians started blasting. In another
Absolutely insane.
incident, Canadian soldiers threw canned
Yeah, this is what I was going to talk about. These Canadian soldiers at first throw food into the German trenches, and then a poor German soldier starts catching them. Boom, boom, boom. Then they eventually throw a grenade.
food at German
Absolutely insane.
trenches, and when German soldiers asked for more, this time Canada threw grenades.
Crazy. What made them so sick up there? Was it the mousses? Was it the syrup? Does it do something to your brain? Always reminds me of this meme. I'm getting good at catching these food tins. Look, he's throwing another. I don't think the next one is going. Yeah, Canada's got no chill. Imagine if Canada was located in Europe and bordered Germany. War crime central. Germany and Japan breaking laws. Canada creating laws. Canada during peace, sorry. Canada during war, not sorry. Germany, Merry Christmas. Meanwhile, Canada going demon mode. You know they're down bad when they don't even stop for Christmas. Canada be like, it's not a war crime if it's done for the first time. Most normal Canadian people. Very nice, happy Earth. What if Hitler chose art
Adolf
over
Hitler grew up in
politics? Oh man, if only. But also, if only that Austrian art school just accepted Hitler, we could have avoided so much.
Grew up in a warm and nurturing household. His father, though strict, supported Adolf's love for sketching, while his mother,
he was a painter.
kind
That is why he is the German painter. You see it all over the internet.
and encouraging,
Well, he was actually the Austrian painter, my bad, but
often praised his creativity. As a young man, he sold sketches on the streets of Vienna,
Yes.
capturing the city's charm.
But
After
then
passing
eventually-
the Academy of Fine Arts entrance exam, he thrived, creating vivid landscapes and portraits that gained him
they
fame
weren't bad.
across Europe.
Is it wrong to say that? His paintings are better than mine. I could never do that. Like, bruh, why didn't they just accept him? Look at this. I mean, I'm not like an art person. Maybe there's something wrong with the shadows, but dang, humanity could have avoided so much. I actually don't know about that. I have to really think about it. I mean, at the end of the day, the German people were still very angry. Maybe, I don't know.
And portraits that gained him fame across Europe.
Maybe
Traveling through
they still
Paris and
become
Rome,
fascist,
he
but they
blended
don't
styles and became
go
a
as
symbol
extreme.
of creativity.
They don't go
using-
into the war side of things. I don't know. Because remember, Benito functioned as the leader of Italy for like a decade and a half before. He didn't really go into any wars. He did with Ethiopia, but you know, he was chilling.
His platform,
Up until
Hitler advocated
the
for
30s.
peace and unity, fostering cultural exchanges. With no war, Europe thrived in an era of art and progress.
Oh,
History remembered him as a visionary artist, not a tyrant.
I'm not okay. Wait, I don't know if history would remember him, right? I mean, there's plenty of artists that I don't know about. I know Van Gogh, but I don't think he was going to be on the level of Van Gogh. Best what if? Time traveler moves chair. Hitler's dad, art is cool. Just wanted to confirm that Benito wasn't necessarily getting himself in any wars. He was pacifying Italian colonies in Africa, but it's not exactly the same thing as, you know, the invasion of Ethiopia in the 1935. Time traveler kicks rock. Meanwhile, the timeline. Who's next? Himmler being the prominent chicken farmer with no wars. See, I don't know. I do somewhat believe in the what's that effect? It's not the butterfly effect. The self-consistency principle. No, I don't know if that's necessarily it. Yeah, I don't know. This definitely has my head spinning on what would happen to Europe if he just was an artist instead. I wouldn't have high hopes for what Stalin would do. Why am I leaning towards like just another country will go fascist? Let's say Germany doesn't go fascist. Well, maybe France or the British do. And then there's like some alliance between this fascist British Empire and the Italian Empire, and then that's who we have to fight for World War II. It gets crazy. Oh, that's right. We also have Franco and Spain. But if no World War II, the world's inventions will be mostly gone. I mean, yeah, technologically, it was crazy what happened in that time period. Thanks for that. History on Maps. Here's another one by him. This time,
Adolf
Hitler
Hitler
visited Paris.
the jewel of Europe.
Yes,
mere
after
days
he took over, well, obviously after he captured Paris and the French fell. This is him going to visit the Eiffel Tower, taking that all too famous photo,
German
which I don't think I can
forces
show
had
here.
occupied the city. Stepping out of his car near the Eiffel Tower at dawn, he gazed over the cityscape
Yes.
and muttered, "What a magnificent culture."
Dang.
Paris, with its grand boulevards, historic monuments, and artistic treasures, captivated
For
him.
some reason, the first time I visited Paris, this is all I could think about. All the photos of the Germans entering Paris, taking all those photos.
This admiration would become Paris's salvation. Hitler, infamous for his scorched earth policies, spared.
That is a
The
very
City of Light endured, its beauty shielding it from ruin in a war that consumed so much else.
That is fascinating. I actually didn't even consider that, how much more destruction London had on it versus Paris. You could literally see it if you visit London today. You can see it in the way the city is constructed. You can see how, like, clearly the roads are a lot bigger and wider than a lot of other European cities that are like small, tighter, winder. The roads themselves are smaller because they date back way further ago. You walk around Italy, it's like a maze because that stuff, those roads are still like they were so many centuries ago. When the artist's genes start kicking in. So Paris's defense strategy was being cute. I think that's also Japan's new defense strategy. There's also this Noto-German that might have stopped Hitler from destroying the city. It is incredible though how much Paris was able to retain historically, even though it was conquered in World War II. Countries that rejected independence. Now, I gotta think about this one. I know I can pick a couple. Well, clearly, if a certain nation still has overseas territories, then that territory did not want independence. It's kind of simple. Well, now that I think about it, maybe not. That especially might not be the case for the French overseas territories. Like, if France still wanted to keep you, then they were going to keep you. I feel like the British did this to maybe a lesser extent, just slightly, just ever so slightly. The other problem is the British started decolonizing back in the 1950s, so it is possible that some of these places initially didn't want independence, but today's day and age, they obviously are. Maybe we can look at some of these later dates and see, you know, maybe where some outliers possibly are. 1971 is pretty late. Oh, Hong Kong. That Hong Kong did not necessarily want its independence, or it definitely didn't want to be given back to China.
Countries that simply rejected independence.
Okay, I'm assuming that these couple frames here, we're just including former countries a part of the British Empire. Not all of them didn't initially reject independence.
So firstly, we got Gibraltar, which voted twice to remain a British territory.
Okay, yeah, Gibraltar, I probably should have realized that one. Obviously, the British still hold on to Gibraltar, like we talked about earlier.
Then we got the Falkland Islands, where 99% of people want to remain British instead of Argentinian.
I was gonna say that one next.
Anyway, subscribe or...
Just two? I think you could have included Hong Kong, but would that have necessarily meant rejecting independence? They just wanted to remain under the British countryside. Rejecting independence is like choosing to live in your parents' basement at 30. Sure, you could move out, but why bother when someone else is already paying the bills? That 1% at Falkland Islands who voted to become Argentinian skull emoji. Well, Gibraltar rejected because they're colonial. Most of the people are British. Malta also rejected but became independent anyways. Okay, that is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Don't forget Hong Kong, whose people prefer to remain as a British colony rather than being part of communist China. Oh yeah, you could reference Singapore. Singapore definitely didn't want to be independent, but Malaysia, not having anything to do with, well, there was connection back to the British Empire, but Malaysia was the one that kicked them out. More countries that rejected independence. Maybe we'll probably talk about Hong Kong now, yeah, and Singapore.
Hong Kong as a result
there it is.
Of Opium War and a 99-year treaty.
Yes.
As the lease ended,
1997.
China took away this big apart. And British thought that it was foolish to separate a land which could not be controlled. So the British...
Yeah, I get that. Problem is those poor citizens of Hong Kong, you always hear some really sad things, even to this day.
Willingly gave away the whole Hong Kong. But the people, and especially James, were not so happy.
Oh
about
no,
it. So
James
Britain and
angry.
China signed a treaty that Hong Kong would operate autonomously for 50 years, which would end in 2047.
Ah, well, I don't know how much that's being followed. Still seems to be a lot of communist Chinese presence there. Dang, we still need the story of Singapore, though. That's the next one up. Nice video info hub. Anyways, go check out all these channels. And a big old thanks to my patrons. I stole Drew Durnil's Robux and won't return them until he plays Cartwright into Drew Durnil.
Alexander
Drew's
the
Argentinian Grandpa.
I'm back, boys.
aPhatNarwhal.
Connor,
I will literally revive
DaBeautiful-MEGAN-Underwood.
Fredrik doesn't realize Imperial Japan flag is the same as modern Japan flag.
NordTyrol,
Tambre, the Mexican 760,
and ZaneyBoi.